everyone, I'm Jessica Stutzman and welcome back to the Millcreek Government Channel. The Flagship Niagara League, a nonprofit organization and educational associate of the Pennsylvania Historical and Museum Commission, is chartered to facilitate citizen participation and operation of the U.S. Brig Niagara and its home port, the Erie Maritime Museum. Joining us on the show today from the organization is Captain Christopher Couson and Bosun Cecilia Weissert. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
Well, this is a very big year for you guys again. We have tall ships coming back to the Erie port, and we're very excited to talk about that event. Before we get into the tall ships, what I want to do is, for those who don't know, tell us what the historical significance is of the U.S. Brig Niagara.
Absolutely. So the original Niagara was a part of Oliver Hazard Perry's fleet of ships on the U.S. side. They were built in Erie, which is the connection here with the city of Erie, and they took part in the Battle of Lake Erie, September 10th, 1813, during the War of 1812. And really the results of that battle and after the war was the United States held kind of the land of Michigan, the Ohio Valley. So really the western part of the United States is what it is today because of that war and that battle.
Mm-hmm. And I love history so much, so this is so exciting to be able to talk about the history and then how you guys really bring that back to life, for people who, again, love hearing about the history and all the tales and the excitement that happened back then. And I've got my Don't Give Up the Ship, my t-shirt, so I'm ready to go for this year's tall ships. That's what you'll see me wearing. Cece, despite being cold out, the Flagship Niagara, you guys have a lot going on in the winter months. Are you guys sailing? Are you getting ready for programs? What's going on during the colder season?
Excellent question. The ship does not sail in the winter. We will all notice that the bay freezes over pretty thoroughly, at least, and sometimes all of the lakes are frozen. So during the winter, most of our work moves indoors, although we're still outside doing some things for the ship and the ship's boats. During the winter, we put maintenance coats of paint and urethane on pretty much everything. And we also do a lot of training, and we maintain the rigging that is pulled in. Rigging on the ship holds up the masts or holds the sails in place when we're using them, and everything that comes inside is thoroughly inspected and maintained if it needs it, and often just most of it stays there out of the wet and out of the frozen. So yeah, we've got a pretty large group of volunteers. We're adding to it of people who come down to hang out and do some sanding and painting and learn a little bit about how the ship works while we're not able to actively sail.
And Cece, how did you get involved in the organization?
I started out as a volunteer.
You did? That's wonderful.
Did. Yeah. In 2012, I was talking to a crew member on another historical boat, and they said it was so sad they were in the rivers and they couldn't sail. And I was like, wouldn't sailing be cool? I've never done that. And I Googled, because I'd known about the Niagara when I was growing up. I Googled Flagship Niagara and found out that they still were sailing 20 years after I was aware of it. And so I started coming out as a volunteer in January of 2013. And as a result of our volunteer program, I was actually able to go sailing for 3 weeks that summer, fell in love with it. It was the best thing that I've ever done, and it kind of shaped the last 6 years of my life.
That's fantastic, and that's a great story, I think, for our viewers to hear, because you can get involved as a volunteer and then really take it so much further than that. Is there a lot of physical labor? I can only imagine in, like you said, the rigging and all of the things that go into making the Niagara sail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have this phrase, many hands make light work, because there's a lot of it. CC leads up the management of all the maintenance on the rig this time of year, and also in the summer. But yeah, we have a lot of people who come down and help us out, and we really couldn't maintain the ship without all of our volunteers.
So again, a lot of volunteers help make everybody's job a little bit easier.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about the winter sail training program.
Sure. Winter sail training is something that we do at least every other week, pretty much throughout the winter, although we have a few this winter that are back to back. It's a Saturday morning program where everybody comes in who's interested in that thing specifically rather than just volunteering. We have a lot of volunteers who have already done it and now just want to continue working in the shop. And we teach them things about the ship and give them a chance to practice and experience the skills of a sailor outside of the sailing situation. So we have an active working model in the museum that we can actually practice setting and striking a sail. We teach everyone knots. We'll teach people how to do rigging work like serving or seizing. All of these words are,
I need a glossary.
Very much,
exactly.
very much my domain here. But we give everybody a chance to do all of that and prepare themselves. If they did want to go sailing in the summer, they feel like they have a leg up on just walking on board and never having done any of this before.
Yep, and I think it's important to share with everyone, it's a free program. There's no attendance required, so even if they decided to start coming in March, April, we would accept them and start providing the training that we can, and then they can earn hours towards sailing on the ship in the summer.
Wonderful. And if someone is interested in the winter sail training program, how would they get involved?
So they can email us at volunteer@flagshipniagara.org, and they can also visit our website and find us through there.
I can only imagine how fun it would be to be a volunteer for your organization and how much you would learn, like you said, doing knots. I certainly have never sailed before. I do some rock climbing and I've learned knots through that. But knots are really, really intricate. I mean, it does take a certain skill to learn how to tie all of these knots, and they're crucial to sailing, right?
Yeah, they are, and I think you can start at the basic level with the knot where you tie your shoes, a square knot, and then work your way up. So people get to practice that over and over. And I think with our volunteer community as well, it's not just about the skills that people learn, but it's also about the camaraderie of that community. We actually just a little while ago had a volunteer dinner where we appreciated all of our volunteers, and that community of people who come together, whether it's every Saturday, some come down during the week, but a lot of the reason people come down is for the people.
And what does your volunteer program look like? What sort of skill set should people, bring to your organization?
A lot of our volunteers have skills from what they've been doing their whole lives. We have one who was a professional painter for 40 years, but he worked alone and is very excited to paint with the quality that he already had. But do it with other people who like to work hard. But I would say you don't have to bring any particular skills. I had, put paint on walls with my dad before, but we have a lot of people who already know what they're doing, and you can pair up with somebody and learn the way we do things, and we try to work in educational moments where we're like, not everyone can do this thing, but everyone can come see how it's done. And so even if you're not actively working on a project, you see how it all comes together. So it's really a learning opportunity, even when you're volunteering. It's about helping people understand better what we're doing so that when you come out sailing, you don't feel lost or like you're there for a ride, and you can really be an active part of what the ship's doing.
And I would say we manage people to pair them up in teams with people who've been there for a while and those who are new, so everyone feels comfortable doing the jobs they need to.
Yes, and I'm sure it's quite the adventure. What season or how often do you need those volunteers?
So we're volunteers work in the fall, winter, and spring, helping us do maintenance on the ship inside of our shop, and they earn hours towards sailing in the summer. And then we also get the chance to sail on day sails and some voyages in the summer. So we're actually trying to find more and more ways to get them involved during the summer. And I think we'll talk about this later, but our schooner, the Lady Howard, is one of those avenues where volunteers can be more involved year-round.
Okay. And when does sailing for the Niagara begin? When does summer actually begin for you guys?
So we have our shakedown sail this year, May 5th. Will be the first sail of the season. We get underway. That's actually the last class for our winter sail training program. So kind of the idea is they get through all these classes in the winter and spring, and the last class is actually sailing on the ship, which is a pretty cool experience.
Very rewarding.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then what does the rest of your season look like?
So starting in May, we'll have some training sails on the ship, retrain up the crew and the volunteers. And then mid-May, we have our first program of the season, a history program. It's a college history program with Mercyhurst University. And that is actually a college level course. They get credit for it. And for 2 weeks, they'll be sailing with us on Lake Erie and going to various ports, visiting museums, and kind of looking at the history of the region through centuries and centuries, through those port stops as well as the ship as a lens. From there, we go to our first high school program of the season in June. And then at that point, once that program's over, we'll really start the very exciting and busy part of our year. We'll be visiting 8 tall ship festivals this summer with other ships, kind of sharing Niagara as well as her story and Erie's story with the greater region of the Great Lakes.
And what other ports are you going to be stopping at for those other tall ship festivals?
Yeah, so we're going to go to all 5 Great Lakes. The first festival we'll be going to this season is in Toronto in late June, early July. Then we'll be going to Buffalo for a festival, Cleveland, Bay City, Michigan, Green Bay, Wisconsin, Kenosha, Wisconsin, and then Duluth, Wisconsin up in Lake Superior. And then finally, we'll be ending up here in Erie at the end of August 23rd to 25th, for Tall Ships Erie. Mm-hmm. And that'll be a really exciting time to be able to come back with all the fleet that we've been sailing with for the whole summer and share Erie, share our home with them.
That's really, really exciting. Mm-hmm. And I'm very excited for it. I remember, very vividly 2 years ago, and then I believe it was 4 years ago, the Tall Ships Festival. And you mentioned that you actually go to Canada. Do your crew members need a passport?
They sure do, yeah. So our crew and all the trainees on board will have to have a passport. And we actually have to go utilize the Welland Canal to get to Toronto. So between Lake Erie and Lake Ontario, you do have the Niagara River and Niagara Falls. We choose not to go that way. So there's a series of canals called the Welland Canal, series of locks, and we have to transverse that to get back and forth. And so that's a part of the whole experience.
That's really amazing, and I can only imagine. Are you guys able to take a lot of photos, through your experience, or are you guys too busy working to really document?
What would you say, Cece?
I would say that the captain has a lot of time in which he's able to take photos. I tend to move around a lot, but it balances out. Mm-hmm. People being able to capture footage. We've had a lot of people, when they're climbing, mm-hmm. take their GoPro with them or get permission to take a camera aloft in their off time. So we do get a lot of time for that sort of thing. I don't take as many pictures as I would like to, but that's kind of on me.
And I would say this is that you get some pretty amazing profile pics, from sailing on a tall ship, and I think our trainees get that. Obviously, there's points in the whole experience where you can't have your phone or a camera on you, but there's other moments where you have time off, you're underway, the sun's setting, we're under sail, and it's just a beautiful moment.
Oh, I'm sure it is. It is. You mentioned earlier that you have the winter sail training program, and I was just thinking that a lot of students and maybe even teachers have time off in the summer. Do you have a program that's comparable to the winter sail program in the summer? We
do. So throughout the summer, we have these 2-week programs that we have designed for certain demographics. So we have 2 high school programs, we have 1 college, but we do have 3 adult programs that are open to anyone who's 14 years of age and older, and they can come sail on the ship for 2 weeks.
Wow, mm-hmm. That's a great experience.
It is, yeah.
And what sort of curriculum or itinerary do they experience? Is it different than what you normally do?
No, so it varies in terms of from port to port. So this year, in particular, being an exciting tall ships year that will be sailing throughout the Great Lakes, the ports, the experiences will be different because of that. But we do have kind of a basic program where we have people come on board, we give them the kind of introductions to the ship, shipboard life, how to steer the ship, how to do lookout, and then we start getting into how to handle sail, how to set sail. So that whole kind of our program is trying to train these students in 2 weeks how to be crew members on the ship. And then once they leave, we have a new set of trainees come in, and we have to teach them and bring them along just like the last batch.
And I'm sure you get a lot of feedback from them at the end of their time on the ship. What sort of feedback have you heard from the kids?
Mm-hmm. I think from high school students, a lot of it has to do with what they didn't expect. Mm-hmm. Like they weren't prepared for the living conditions, like being very close to so many people. We can have up to 49 people on the ship, although that's a very full program. They're like, I have never been this close to so many people. And then normally they go on and they list all the things they learned as a result. A lot of communication and how important it is to get to know the people around you. And for a lot of people, I think it's kind of a bucket list kind of thing. They went to a ship for 2 weeks and they're like, this changed my life because everything about it was unexpected. Like, they saw a picture of the boat and thought that would be cool, and then they got into the details and realized that in the little moments where you're doing something you didn't expect to ever have to do, you learn something about yourself or something about a stranger, and now you've got this group of people who had these experiences together, and they become, I like to say, crew. A lot of the trainees say family, like it creates a bond among people. So I think we get a lot of positive feedback in terms of the community that's built on the ship. And some people come because they want to learn more about sailing, and Niagara is pretty unique in the U.S. for this kind of sailing. So,
and I would say that our sail training programs are designed for the individual. We have groups of people coming together as a community, and they all benefit cohesively together, but as individuals they also benefit, which is really hard to measure, right? Because they're learning skills in terms of how to work as a team, how to be a leader, how to be a follower, and we get some feedback from outside of students, even teachers. I remember one student who had a really difficult time at first on board the ship, and we helped that person come along and become a productive member of the crew, and they went back to school and were better students because of it. And it's really hard to measure, but you do see the circumstances.
That's a great takeaway message, and I was just thinking everything you kept mentioning, teamwork, and that reminds me of, again, just there is so much social media, I think, that kids have today, and they don't always have to communicate face-to-face or verbally, and I think an experience like this would really pull them away from technology and then help them to communicate better with people more, again, in a face-to-face experience. So I'm sure that's, like I said, going back to school is super helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, on board the ship, there is no getting away from having to interact with people on a very small scale because you're living together for 24 hours a day for 2 weeks. So that means you have to be able to talk to each other, have to work together, but it also means that you can come together cohesively and really build strong relationships.
Is there a cost to for these programs for the students?
So for the 2-week programs, they range about $1,800 for 2 weeks. What's really exciting this year, in addition to all the programs we're doing, is Erie Insurance is providing scholarships for our high school program. So we have 20 high school scholarships for our 2 high school programs this year, and we'll be offering those to the people here in Erie as well as Erie County.
Okay, and that's so generous of Erie Insurance. I'm so glad to hear that they're doing something like that because, an experience like that, if you don't have the money, being able to apply for this scholarship probably means the world to them.
Absolutely, yeah. So we're excited to be able to get 20 students from this local area sailing on the ship this summer.
That's wonderful. I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah.
With, again, just moving through your summer, again, I'm really excited to talk about Tall Ships 2019. So you already mentioned the date, but I'm going to have you do it one more time. When is Tall Ships coming to Erie?
Yep, so the festival itself is going to be taking place August 23rd through 25th, and it's going to be a 3-day event. And it's going to be pretty exciting. We're going to have a larger footprint than we have had in the past, which will be including the Port Authority and the Convention Center. And we're actually going to have 16 ships this year, which is the most we've had before, but it's also going to be the largest Tall Ship Festival on the Great Lakes this summer.
Oh, that's really special.
It is, yeah.
Well, I hope you get a lot of media attention, again, just for holding such a large festival.
I'm sure we will, but I also have to include that the world's largest rubber duck will also be returning to the Great Lakes and to Erie next summer.
I do need a photo of that. Actually, I need to put that's on my bucket list to get that photo.
Good.
When does the Parade of Sail happen?
That's going to be Thursday, August 22nd. I'm not sure that by the time, I think it's about 4 p.m.
Okay.
But it could be earlier, yeah. We'll have more details out there.
Okay.
And we're going to be, we're going to be announcing throughout the spring and into the summer all the ships that will be joining us in August.
Oh, good. And some returning and then some new.
Absolutely, yeah. So we'll have some some vessels that we haven't seen before. For
Oh,
sure.
good. And I saw that again, Friday, Saturday, Sunday's the event from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Yep.
So, if you work on the weekends, there's still plenty of time to get there either in the morning or in the evening.
Absolutely.
And then are tickets on sale currently?
They're currently on sale. Yeah, they've been on sale since Thanksgiving.
Okay.
And there's many different ways of being part of the festival. We have daily passes for $10. You can also add on for deck tours for $5. You can take a weekend pass for $39, and then you could also get the VIP, which is only there's a limited number of those we're selling, and those are $119. But you get free, or not free, but VIP parking, and there's also a VIP area where there's food and drinks, as well as including the access to the whole event and deck tours and your own special VIP line.
Yes, and I will say I did have the VIP pass before, and it was well worth it for the parking alone because your event is very well attended. And again, if you don't have that VIP parking, you might want to put on some sneakers because you're going to be maybe taking a walk to get to the ships.
And we'll be working with the city about trying to provide the best transportation and parking that we can for an event because it will be very popular. So I do recommend people go out if they're interested in the VIP passes to get them early because they will probably sell out by early summer.
And tell me about the festival. What sort of things can we expect from the festival this year?
Yep. So we'll have similar to years in the past. There'll be over at the convention center. There'll be vendors that are going to be selling goods. There'll be food. Throughout, we'll have music. We'll have an educational zone where we'll have educational activities for various ages. We will have 4 or 5 ships doing day sales, sail-aways, where people can buy tickets and go sailing and see the festival from a different perspective, which is pretty cool. And then finally, you have the deck tours, where people can actually wait in line, get on the ship, and ask the crew members of these various vessels about their ships.
It was fantastic, like I said, when we went, and my favorite part is always the shopping, and then of course the tours, and like you said, the deck tours, and I got so many great photos. So make sure you charge your phone or you bring a camera because the photos are just amazing of the ships. So again, moving a little bit past the Tall Ships Festival, I know we don't have much time, but you also have the schooner Letty G. Howard. Can you tell me how our viewers might be able to sell on that one too?
Yeah, so the schooner Letty G. Howard, she was built in 1893, so she is a historic vessel, and she is originally a fishing vessel that would have fished for cod in the late 19th century. She is owned by the South Street Seaport Museum in New York City, and the Flagship Niagara League is leasing her and coordinating programs on her. Right now she's down in Florida doing programming there for the winter, and then she'll be back here in Erie in June and offering day sails throughout the whole summer, June, July, August, and people can actually go out sailing on her and have a great perspective of seeing Erie from the bay, which I think is pretty special. So people could do that. We also have Tall Ship Summer Camp in the summer from July 1st into August, and that's 1 week day programs for 10 to 14-year-olds. So they can come down, do maritime activities, and they actually get to sail on the Letty G. Howard one time every day, so five times during their week with the camp.
Oh, that's going to be so much fun for those kids.
It is.
And how long, again, if somebody does want to do a day sail on the Letty G. Howard or even on the Brig Niagara, because that's available as well, how long are those day sails?
So on the Letty G. Howard, most of the sails during the day are about an hour and a half. We do have 2-hour evening sunset sails, which are beautiful. You get to see the gorgeous Erie sunsets from the water, and then so those are about 2 hours. And then the Niagara sails, which we'll have the whole month of September doing day sails every weekend on Niagara, that's about 4 hours.
Okay.
Because Niagara is a much more complicated vessel to get on and off the dock and to set sail, and that's a really cool experience to be able to see how that ship works.
Well, that's so exciting. Unfortunately, I was going to say our time has just about come to a close. I wanted to ask, is there any other message you wanted to leave our viewers with before we have to go?
I would just say this, that the Brig Niagara, the Letty G. Howard, the Erie Maritime Museum is there in this community. It's really unique for a city to have this, and that if people want to be involved, if they want to go sailing, if they want to take a tour, or if they want to be a volunteer, all of that is possible. They just have to come out, contact us, and we can get them involved.
Wonderful. And tell me one more time your contact information, if you guys are on social media or anything like that.
So we're on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. It's going to be at usbrigniagara.org. And then we have our website, flagshipniagara.org, as well as if they're interested in volunteering, they can go to volunteer@flagshipniagara.org. And then if they're interested in Tall Ships Erie and buying tickets, tallshipserie.org.
Wonderful. So there's so many websites. We're gonna put them all on the screen so
Excellent.
People can, if they didn't hear you mention it, where they can see it up on the screen. And again, like I said, get on their computer or get on their phone and check you guys out. Again, thank you so much for joining us in the studio today. I'm really excited for your year this year.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you. Viewers, the U.S. Brig Niagara and the Flagship Niagara League, they have so many exciting events this year. And again, even if you can't make it to Tall Ships, which I really hope you can, it's a wonderful experience. They have day sales, they have volunteer opportunities. There's so much you can do to get involved with them this year. So make sure you check out their website, attend their events, or just give them a call. Thank you for tuning in to the Millcreek Government Channel. And until next time, have a great day.